We're going to talk about the in-home network, management of the in-home network, and getting everything to work better for the connected user, so that they don't call you. And first up to talk about that is Mike from Calix.
Today, I'm going to talk about a few topics here. And really, it's going to be talking about this transformation that is underway in our industry, which is migrating from a speed provider to an experience provider. And that's going to be using some ML AI to create a smarter access and home network. And then all of this will be to improve the customer experience. So one of the things that we do at Calix is we're kind of an end-to-end platform. We have products, everything from residential gateways and applications that run on those gateways for security apps, parental controls, Wi-Fi management, of course, ONUs as well with OLTs and BNGs and routers. And then we also have our cloud platforms. For NMS systems and ACS and USP, et cetera. What I've done in the presentation yesterday, as well as this presentation, I've removed any of the product pitch type references here. And we're going to talk about, just like yesterday, just some fundamentals about how an operator can transform their network. Yesterday, I talked about that transformation of consolidation of network functions to the edge of the network. What we're going to talk about today is a transformation of a service provider to an experience provider. And that's going to be looking at some of the home services that's been talked about today with applications that could live in the residential gateway and some of the management of those, as well as some of the upper layer cloud systems that would be monitoring, managing, configuring, making changes to the network, using essentially open loop automation, so OLA, which would require human intervention, or closed loop automation, CLA, which would be essentially the networks being autonomous and making the configuration change themselves. So one of the things that we also do is as this platform that we have, we're providing a lot of the development for some of the operators in the tier 2, tier 3 markets that just don't have the dollars, the infrastructure, the staff to create some of these end-to-end applications. So what we're going to talk about is some of the real-world experience that we have enabling those service providers to become an experience service provider. All right, so about the highway. The highway has been built by our fiber service providers, and the performance of that network, though, is being dictated by the applications that their consumers are using. Those applications could be gaming, could be some of the video or over-the-top video applications, and then also, as you can see on the banner below, these are some of the applications that our customers are looking to deploy or have deployed in many cases on their residential gateways that's being managed by the cloud. Everything from network security, parental controls, Wi-Fi management, and then also things that are beyond the residential gateway applications, like, for example, physical home security. And those physical home security systems can also be integrated into this ecosystem. And then also network optimization that could also live on that residential gateway. And then also, as I described, throughout the network through the use of network slicing that I described in detail yesterday. All right, so I opened up with enabling a service provider to transform themselves from a speed service provider to an experience service provider. And that's really providing some value-added services, but it's beyond just those value-added services to improve the customer experience. It's also about improving operations, so that's network operations, and then also customer care operations. We wanted to talk about this power of disruption. So as we are enabling some of the tier 2, tier 3 markets to transform themselves from a speed provider to an experience provider, we also want to just recognize some of the disruption that's happened in our industry and outside our industry for those that did not evolve. So this is not the first time an industry has evolved from where they have been, perhaps over the last 20 years, providing more speed and connectivity to becoming an experience provider. So as we look in the cell phone industry, of course, Nokia was dominant for many years in the 90s and early 2000s. And of course, BlackBerry was dominant in their industries as well. So as we look about some of the disruptions that's happened in that industry, we certainly didn't want that to happen in the broadband industry. So we've seen, of course, with the introduction of the smartphone and its use of applications that could be integrated into the device, it's really no different than what this transition is happening in our broadband industry and what we're doing to the residential gateway, some of those adjacent markets I talked about, perhaps for physical home security, overall network management and cloud functions that take place for improving the operations, whether it be network operations or customer care type tools and processes for identifying problems in the network. So as we look then, one of the things that our customers have talked about is the most important thing to their customers is the reliability of the network. And speed didn't even make it in the top 10. So this is very interesting as we look at this transformation from the speed provider to a experience provider. Some of the things that have been identified, certainly, as some of the drivers beyond speed is going to be cybersecurity, overall management of the Wi-Fi network, connectivity to the device for the residential gateway through mobile apps. And then also prioritization of network traffic. It could be video streams, it could be other content, perhaps some of the web-enabled conferencing that could be identified and then proactively then prioritized, beginning at the gateway and going throughout the network, as I shared with you yesterday with the use of network slicing and some of the PON technologies. And that also would translate to a better gaming experience as well as yet another application that could thrive with the identification of network prioritization. All right, so to enable this transition, we broke it up into 3 areas. The intelligent access network, much of which I talked about yesterday, and then the smart home. It's going to be some of those applications that were talked about today. So those smart applications for the residential gateway and those controllers that would live in the cloud that would be managing those applications, as well as the use of ML and AI. So as we look at the intelligent access network, one of the things that has been identified by our customers is the need for network reliability. One of the things beyond just your simple fiber cuts is having fewer network elements in the chain for the service delivery. And that comes through network consolidation of network functions. I talked about that yesterday. Today, many of the broadband networks that have been deployed today for PON are representative of the DSL network that was deployed 30 years ago. And you look at it, it was a simple access network that didn't have much traffic management or any, and all of that traffic was steered to a BNG at a centralized location for all of the essentially heavy lifting of the processing of network traffic. And then, of course, beyond traffic management, lawful intercept, routing, and some of the statistics and counting of traffic, et cetera. One of the things that we identified yesterday is that it doesn't have to be that way. you can push some of that functionality to the edge of the network, like the OLT that's already doing upstream traffic management. You can also have it doing full downstream and upstream traffic management at the edge of the network. So one of the things is also is having some smart OLTs and ONTs that could be part of this AI ML infrastructure. Essentially, some of this edge compute processing that could happen, and essentially edge AI. So one of the things that has been identified is a common service and orchestration layer to provide that programmability and visibility to enable those services and also monitor those services. Moving into the smart home. Smart home, we talked about some of those today, about some of the network security and parental controls. We talked a little bit about some of the Wi-Fi management and mesh management capabilities. We talked about network optimization. That could be an app that's identified at the residential gateway to prioritize that traffic through the network. And then also self-managing the network. The consumers could be self-managing their network. And that could be through the use of mobile apps, as we know. Last is going to be the use of ML and AI. And so we have Gen AI. There's also other forms of AI that could learn from modeling, and then also algorithms that could then therefore make decisions based on some of the analytics that they have been collecting. So one of the things about AI and ML is these recommendation engines. And these recommendation engines, as I mentioned in the opening of the presentation, could be categorized in two ways. OLA, or open loop automation, which would require human intervention once a problem has been identified to make corrective measures. The other is going to be without human intervention, the use of closed loop automation. So we have been developing much of these approaches and technologies for many years, and we'll talk about some of them in the following slides. So to transition to an experience provider using AI and ML, this will enable operations, support staff, marketing, and even the management teams to have far better visibility of the network to improve the customer experience. So AI, ML in a nutshell, we'll be gathering a lot of information from entities to build these learning models to make decisions. And these algorithms then will provide recommendations. We'll detect these anomalies, and these anomalies may happen over a long period of time. For example, the degradation of an optical interface, for example. And we'll use some of this information to predict faults or predict areas where there could possibly be an outage in the future. And we'll provide recommendations then to the operations staff then to make changes. So with ML AI, we talked about its support for OLA and CLA. And then it will enable operators then to manage their networks and services through more of an automated process. So we're a big supporter of standards, and we've identified several of these standards that have been underway for many years now, nearly 10 years. And then also a lot of the work that's been underway at the Broadband Forum. And these are going to be foundational as we move into this AI and ML era. And one of the things that we're looking at then is not just what to detect and where to detect it. If we want to make some of these closed loop automation changes, those that do not require human intervention, this is where the use of standardized interfaces to actually make those changes. These interfaces will be from the network element layers to the SDN layers also to the service and orchestration layers, all via standardized interfaces that are being defined in the Broadband Forum. Some of those things that we're going to be looking at in use cases could be categorized in 4 ways. So we look at diagnostics and monitoring. We'll look at then detecting some of the Wi-Fi problems and then making changes there. We'll look at some of the test and periodical monitoring of some of the traffic. And this is going to look at from the Wi-Fi experience all the way then to the network optical layer. We'll use AI and ML to help us determine some of the root cause. And then those root causes will be created, recommendations will be created then for the operations staff. Predictions and proactive intelligence. We want to get ahead of where changes may need to be required in order to keep the service up and reliable. And that's where having information about some of the characteristics that could cause a failure of a component in the network. I mentioned, like, for example, an optical interface. There could be a potential problem with an optical interface that we might be able to predict with historical information based on environmentals where they might cause problems. For example, some of the optical interfaces live in clamshells or node housings. Some live in cabinets. All of these locations are not conditioned. This may impact the life of some of those optical components. And then overall optimization. We talked about optimization of traffic, but it could also be optimization of the actual Wi-Fi signal itself. So what happens today? So today, we will have an alarm, and that alarm may be sent to the NOC. We also then have our end users that could report problems. And this could be to the support staff. And then we'll start identifying where that problem is using multiple systems. And then we'll begin the troubleshooting process by perhaps dispatching field engineers to identify where that problem is. And then try to identify then the root cause or the suspected outage and where that outage may take place. And then that information would be reported back to the NOC. A lot of manual processes, a lot of human interventions, a lot of tools that may not all connect to one another. So this approach, though, is completely reactive. So, and in many ways, ineffective because our customers are actually experiencing these outages and in some cases reporting to the operator the outage itself. So these multiple systems that are being used may not all talk to one another, often requires manual intervention to have an understanding about what that problem could be. And then it also requires a lot of communications between the teams and a lot of time to troubleshoot. So how can we improve this in the future? This is through the use of AI and ML. And it's through collections and analytical data that we're compiling then from the edge of the network, through the residential apps that live on gateways, through the ONUs, through the OLTs and BNG functions we talked about, to identify where that customer experience or where that problem may exist. We'll use operational tools in the NOC, and we'll also use support tools in our customer care organizations to have information communicated to those teams to identify where that problem is so that it can be identified the proper diagnostics and also where to deploy resources to solve that problem. So how can we become proactive? An incident is identified, and that incident could be interfaced with the operator's platform. And that operator platform would be a NOC or support organization. For example, our customer care organizations. And these new or impending issues then that could be identified, could be rapidly identified with these collection tools, or could be predicted, as I mentioned earlier. And that we could advise then the customer that are going to be impacted by these network changes in a proactive manner or in a reactive manner that they're going to be affected by an outage where they may not have known or experienced that outage. So these tools then could help to dispatch field engineering, as I said, advise our customers through SMS messaging to mobile apps and other forms of communications, and then also update the management of the ISP. This all can be done with webhooks or APIs. This will fix faults and then also improve the customer experience. And by improving the customer experience, it will enable our operators to grow their business more successfully by transitioning to an experienced provider. All right, so the smart home. So our customers will look at the network from their own perspectives. So as they look at it from their Wi-Fi experience and their overall network experience, we're going to be providing tools at every layer of the network. Network operations tools for the network operation or the NOC, customer care tools, and then also customer engagement tools so they can notify the customer of an outage that will happen in the future or an outage that may be underway that's going to be corrected. All right, so as we look at transitioning over to an experienced provider, in these three categories, network operations will be looking to improve overall operation experience and OpEx cost to the network by reducing the mean time to repair, and then also having automated processes and provisioning to make some of these corrective changes. As I said, two methods, OLA, open loop, or closed loop automation. Our customer care can take ownership of an issue by having the tools and capabilities to understand where that outage may take place and help troubleshoot where that outage may be taking place in their network. All in an effort to reduce the number of truck rolls that might be dispatched from the customer care organization. Finally, it's communication with the customer. So through engagement tools that are integrated with the customer care as well as overall operational tools, we'll be able to engage with the customer either in a proactive way to advise them of a future outage or in a reactive way whenever an outage is currently underway. All right, so in conclusion, so like many of the system vendors that have talked earlier today and yesterday, our industry is embracing AI and ML. And we're doing it to improve overall network operations to make actionable recommendations to either the network operations staff or the customer care staff. We're going to be making automation using two modes, either open loop automation, where the human will supervise that change of the network, or closed loop automation, more of a self-healing network. Its key benefits are going to be mean time to diagnose can be lowered, mean time to repair, and then also really providing more of an effective use of the resources that we have. And to be more proactive, identifying where those problems may exist in the future to predict and understand those anomalies to make a scheduled change before the customers are impacted. With that, I thank you. And I think I was able to reclaim some of the time we lost.
That was perfect. Well, no, actually, now you are actually right on.
Right on time.
Yeah,
that's
but
right.
I'm going to leave. I'm going to be generous and honor the buffer that we did put in place. So,
that's right.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions? We have a little bit of time. I can squeeze out for some questions. The one thing at one point I did want to make earlier when you had the slide about the research you did, and you were saying how speed was way down. In the last Omdia report we did in 2023, it was also cost was way down on the list.
Oh, okay.
Which indicated that people, not only are people wanting these things, but they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Essential.
Right. Right.
Yes.
I think the only other question I had is the slide that I showed during the panel this morning.
Mm-hmm.
about what people were going to use the CPE for.
Mhm.
And the vast majority said that they would plan on putting that computation, the AI ML computation stuff on the CPE.
Yeah.
I didn't know what your thoughts were about that.
Yes, that's going to be a resource that we're going to be using. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Mike, to be an experience provider, I guess you need to have content and applications as well as
Mhm.
part of the service. From your position, very strong in the tier 2 and tier 3 market, what's the appetite of those content providers and application providers to bring their services to the metro edge or to the edge compute level as well?
Yeah, so today, some of those tier 2, tier 3 customers that just don't have the resources of a tier 1, whether those tier 1 resources could be in-house or paid paid to third-party consultants. What our tier 2 and tier 3 customers want is that full experience end to end. And they are willing to pay for those value-added services that would live on the residential gateway. For example, the firewall, parental controls, and then also that wireless mesh management. So those are the key applications, that our customers are requiring. And then also too, it's providing this visibility throughout the entire network. So it's not just those apps that live on the residential gateway. They also want to have the same systems have all the hooks to the optical network, so the ONU and optical domain, and the overall experience throughout the entire network. And then it's also having the cloud systems for operations cloud that would be used by the network operations center, a customer care cloud, and then also that engagement cloud with the customers. Having all of those components have connectivity so that the visibility of a network outage or an overall experience can be communicated across platform. And that's one of the key propositions that our customers are driving us toward and have been implementing for many years now.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you.